Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are not talking about a boring, suit-wearing politician. We are talking about the woman who shattered the glass ceiling of Japanese history. Imagine this: a young girl, hair dyed, furiously beating the drums in a heavy metal band, tearing through the streets of Kobe on a high-displacement motorcycle in the 80s. And now, look at the present. That same woman is sitting in the Prime Minister's office, holding the fate of the world's fourth-largest economy in her hands, and delivering statements that make Beijing sit on pins and needles. She is Sanae Takaichi, Japan's first female prime minister. She is known as the Iron Lady, the heir to Shinzo Abe, and a nightmare for the opposition. But few people know that to reach the pinnacle of power in 2025, she went through a rebellious life full of painful stumbles. Today, let's go back in time and decode the entire life of Sanae Takaichi. Our story begins in Nara Prefecture, the peaceful ancient capital of Japan, where Sanae Takaichi was born in March 1961. In the strict Japanese society of the 60s, where women were taught to be gentle and submissive, Takaichi was an outlier. From a young age, she didn't like playing with dolls. She liked things that were strong, loud, and fast. When she entered the prestigious Kobe University, instead of joining tea ceremony or flower arrangement clubs, Takaichi chose rock music. She was the main drummer for a heavy metal band. Just imagine the stern prime minister we see today once holding drumsticks and pounding out the chaotic, frenzied rhythms of youth. But it didn't stop there. Takaichi was a true biker. She owned a Kawasaki Z400 GP, a two-wheeled beast at the time. On weekends, people would see this law student wearing a leather jacket, riding across coastal roads, enjoying absolute freedom. She even learned scuba diving and martial arts. It was these years of youth, full of fire and steel, that forged a fearless Takaichi, a tough character that her political opponents would later come to fear.
After graduating, Takaichi didn't choose the path of a settled office worker. She was accepted into the Matsushita Institute of Government and Management, the cradle of Japan's most outstanding leaders. But the real turning point that changed her mindset was when she went to the United States in 1987. In the U.S., she worked as a fellow for the office of Democratic Congresswoman Patricia Schroeder. This was the period when Takaichi witnessed firsthand how the world's #1 superpower operated. She realized the ruthlessness but efficiency of politics, and more importantly, looking back at her homeland from the other side of the hemisphere, her national pride rose stronger than ever. She wrote in her memoir, "In America, I truly understood what it meant to love Japan." She returned home with a sharp mindset. Japan needed to be stronger, more independent, and could not remain a timid nation forever bowing an apology for the past. And so, the path to becoming a conservative politician, or a hawk, began.
In 1993, she was elected to the House of Representatives for the first time, but her career only truly soared when she met her political soulmate, the late Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Takaichi and Abe shared the same frequency. Both wanted to amend the pacifist constitution, wanted the Japanese military to have the right to engage in combat, and wanted to restore the pride of the land of the rising sun. Abe trusted her so much that he entrusted her with responsibilities previously reserved only for men. She became the longest-serving female Minister of Internal Affairs and Communications in history, and then Minister of Economic Security, holding the nation's vital technological secrets. She is famous for her toughness. She publicly visited the Yasukuni Shrine, a place honoring Japanese war dead, despite fierce opposition from China and South Korea. When asked about this, she coldly replied, "I visit as an individual to pray for those who have fallen. No country has the right to interfere with my freedom of religion." That statement defined the Sanae Takaichi brand:
uncompromising.
But if we have to choose a moment that made her name resonate and cause the most controversy on the international stage, it is her stance on Taiwan. In 2021, and repeatedly mentioned in subsequent campaigns, Takaichi held a historic virtual meeting with then Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen. This was taboo for high-ranking Japanese officials due to the One China policy, but Takaichi didn't care. She made a shocking statement, and I quote the core essence. A Taiwan contingency is a Japan contingency. She argued that the Taiwan Strait is the lifeline for shipping oil and energy to Japan. If China were to control Taiwan by force, they would strangle the windpipe of the Japanese economy. Therefore, she asserted that Japan and the U.S. must have a joint operational plan to defend Taiwan if the island were attacked. This statement was like pouring oil on the fire of Japan-China relations. Beijing called her a dangerous provocateur, but for Japanese nationalists, she was the only one daring to speak the naked truth that other politicians avoided.
Her journey to the prime minister's seat was not paved with roses. In 2021, she ran but lost to Mr. Kishida. In 2024, in a breathless race, she led in the first round but painfully lost to Mr. Shigeru Ishiba in the decisive round due to a lack of support from veteran lawmakers. Many thought her career was over, but a rocker never quits. In October 2025, when the Ishiba administration collapsed due to internal issues, the opportunity came again. This time with the Sanae economic platform, focusing on strategic investment and national security and the image of a resilient woman, she convinced both the ruling party and the people. The moment Sanae Takaichi stood on the podium of glory, becoming the first female prime minister, was not just her own victory. It was the collapse of the gender prejudice wall that had existed for centuries in Japan. From the girl riding a high-displacement motorcycle years ago, she is now steering the ship of Japan through the rough waves of a new era. That is the life of Sanae Takaichi, a heroic rock song with no end in sight. Thank you for listening to today's story.
If you enjoyed this story and want more simple English stories about inspiring people, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below. Your support helps me make more stories for you. Thank you for listening.